Okay, so as Cara hinted at, we did design this training session with you in mind. Website overhauls are not inexpensive and they can take a lot of time, like months and months and months. So we really wanted to focus the session on what are some concrete website changes that you can go and have done within a day, within a week, and really help you generate more leads from what is perhaps your most valuable online asset. It is an asset that you own. It is an asset that you can send traffic to. So that's what our goal is here today. So if you are brand new to these marketing mentor sessions, I just want to kind of introduce you to why we do these and what our goal is here. And really, we're trying to make law firm growth simpler by making online marketing simpler. I was looking at a chart earlier that kind of talked about the online marketing business world, and it was saying there's social media, and within social media, there's, 10 different channels you can consider. Then there's email marketing, then there's SMS marketing, then there is SEO, then there is PPC. And then off of each of those little channels, it was talking about all the branches that offshoot from that. And I think for me, that illustration was really important to remind me, who works in digital marketing all the time, that it can feel really complex, and it can feel like, oh my gosh, which direction should we go in? What's really going to have the most impact on our business growth? Because let's be honest, no one here wants to market just for the sake of marketing. It's because you're really looking to add to your bottom line. So that's really what we're hoping to do in these sessions, is help you strategically determine what's the best route for you to go so that you can impact your law firm's bottom line and that you can bring more leads and more prospects into your business. So anytime I'm looking at online marketing, I'm thinking about it and can you guys see my screen? I'm sorry, I'm just seeing a Zoom. Okay, a Zoom notification. Anytime I'm thinking about online marketing, I'm thinking about it from three perspectives. And the reason I introduced this concept is because I think that so often in today's day and world, when we think about online marketing, we think about it solely from the perspective of lead generation. Can I get more leads? Can I get more leads? Can I get more leads? And what we forget is that it typically takes many leads a lot of time to decide whether we are the right person or not to help them. And not all leads are created equal. As Cara hinted at earlier, you may get a lot of contact form submissions, but not everyone's a good fit for your firm. Some people might refer to as tire kickers. I hear that a lot. And we really want to make sure that not only are you generating leads, but you're generating the right kind of leads. And if they're not yet ready to reach out to you for the next step, that you are staying in touch with them in an easy way. So that's kind of always the filter that I'm looking through, is looking at online marketing through these three lenses. So today we're going to look at all three of these aspects as we talk about the 5 website changes that we are going to recommend that you make. So I'm curious, when you think about your website performance and specifically how well it generates leads for your firm, what grade would you give it? An A, a B, a C, a D, or an F? If you can just type that in the chat, that would be fabulous. Okay, so as you guys are giving a grade for your website, and by the way, no judgment here, I just want to get an idea for where you guys feel your website performance is at. That would be super helpful. Amazing. Okay, lots of C's. And if you don't mind detailing kind of why you gave it that grade, that would also be helpful for me. Okay, so as you guys are grading your sites, I just want to talk about why your website is so important. And I think the first is that it acts as a 24/7 salesperson for your firm, meaning someone can look you up at any time of day, any time of night, and go get a first impression for what's your firm going to be like? Can they help you? Do you have a clear and structured process? Do they know how to take the next steps with you because they want to get more information? You do not have to be available for someone to visit your website. So it's just this really great tool to move people from website visitor to lead to booked consultation to the next step. The other thing is it's a marketing asset you actually own. And I think this is really important to highlight, especially in today's day and age where social media has become such a popular marketing channel. And I love social media. I think it has a place in every marketing strategy, but you do not own your followers. You do not control the social media algorithms, and relying solely on social media to serve as your website or your kind of online calling card, I think is a huge mistake. There's too much volatility in social media algorithms, and what might be kind of a super high performing channel for you one year, it could kind of flip the next year and you don't have any way control over that. And so what I love about a website is you own the asset and you're really looking at it as your kind of home base for your marketing, and then using social media to drive traffic there. So if anyone here is thinking, oh, it's okay, I don't really need to update my website, I don't need to make these changes, I can just use social media, I'd encourage you to reframe that a little bit. And Cara, I'll let you speak a little bit to this piece of ownership.
Yeah, I mean, you really just hit the nail on the head, Lauren, and it's what I hear so often, as I alluded to at the top of the session. It's, you know, so often it's attorneys' websites are seen kind of as a second thought, right, or an afterthought. So the more we can. And also we fully appreciate the amount, or the lack of time, I should say, that you have available to dedicate to this. So, you know, that is really the common thread in this session, is these are easy to implement and they have an impact, right? So those are the two kind of filters to really put through. You know, we're not getting into, you know, sort of SEO best practices on this session. We're not getting into other items, kind of on-page items that your agency is hopefully kind of looking out for on your behalf. These are simple add-ons, and they're add-ons that we very rarely see in the hundreds of law firm websites that we review all the time. Even some of the top performing, the highest trafficked sites, I still rarely see all of these for sure, but even one or two of these. So I think, you know, really, as Lauren says, kind of, you know, owning this super critical, super, you know, valuable marketing resource is it doesn't need to take a bunch of your time. And that's really what we're going to show you specifically today.
Yeah. And so often I hear people say, you know, hey, here's my website, but we're going to get an overhaul soon, but it's going to be revamped soon, but don't look too closely at it. Like there's like this shame around, hey, my website doesn't represent my firm or my business the way I'm hoping for it to. And I hear you. I think we've all been there. And there are some really simple ways, which we're going to cover today, that you can take your existing traffic and turn more of them into leads. And I really don't want you spending 3 months, 6 months on the back end of this presentation working through an overhaul. It's expensive, and it's requires a lot of time investment and a lot of skill set that you may have access to through an agency or you may not have access to. So the nice thing about what you're going to learn today, and we are giving a replay, by the way, to this training. So if you want to send it to whoever's working on your website, or you want to send it to another team member who's going to spearhead some of these changes, I highly recommend that you do that. So my belief is that it's imperative your website doesn't act as just an online business card, but it actually generates leads for your business. We don't just want a pretty website that, okay, people go and look at, but then you have no idea what happens to all that website traffic. We want you to be gathering contact information and be getting inquiries directly from your website. So that's what we're going to cover today. And in my opinion, there's 5 ways we can do that pretty easily, pretty quickly. And so the first one is going to be, let's create an inquiry form for hot leads. Hot leads are what I would consider the people who are almost ready to take the next step for you. They just need to jump on a consultation, or they need a little bit more information before they can move forward. The mistake that I often see on attorneys' websites, and I'll let Mike field this in a second, is that there's only a contact form, and all that's in there is first name field, maybe last name field, email, and a message field. And that's it. And that's where everyone's supposed to go to take the next step with you. And I find this is often not enough. And I'd love to know in the chat, is the only form on your website your contact form? And if you can just let me know as I keep walking through this content. So a contact form leaves a lot to be desired for hot leads. First of all, it doesn't let me know, if I'm a hot lead, what the next step is going to be with you. I don't know, is someone going to call me? Is someone going to book an appointment with me? It also doesn't allow me to share more about my situation. All I have is that message form, and I can't say, hey, I'm looking for help with a personal injury case. Here's when I got injured, and here's what's happened until now. And by just adding an inquiry form that has a few more fields, it doesn't have to be super lengthy, but where you are asking very specific questions in order to determine the quality of the lead, it does two things. One, it helps you determine the quality of the lead and see, hey, is this someone I want to jump on a call with, or your team? But two, it also gives the prospect the impression that you really know what you're doing, right? If you ask the right questions, not only can you skip the kind of basic inquiry that's going to happen on a free consultation, but two, I will get the impression that, oh my gosh, Donovan really knows what he's doing. He's asked me 3 questions that no one else has asked me yet. And, I feel like I'm in good hands. So it's a really great way for you to determine the lead quality and for the prospect to feel like, hey, this is the right person and I really want to take the next step. Also, there's a psychological thing that happens where if I've spent some time filling out a form that's not just a contact form, I already feel like I've invested some sort of commitment to you and I'm more likely to take the next step. So many business owners and attorneys who we've implemented these forms for often say, oh, our prospects want a copy of what they sent us because it's taken them some time to fill out the information and they want to use that every time they talk to someone about this case or about taking the next steps. And so there's just kind of this, no money has been exchanged yet, but there's kind of like, oh, I'm loyal to Cara already because I've already filled out her form. That happens. And I think it's a really unique way to stand out in your field, especially when so many people only use contact forms. So Mike, I'll let you speak to that a little bit too and what you see.
Yeah, and I think like you're mentioning with the psychological aspect, aside from demonstrating your expertise, it's showing that you care, right? You've asked direct pointed questions and people, even if it's something that's painful to them, like personal injury matter, maybe it's criminal defense, people want to know that someone's listening, right? That there's caring involved. And I think that goes a long way towards brand building as well. You're not just submitting a contact form to, anyone on the website, who knows who's going to field it, but someone has asked you a specific question. Now, okay, now you're investing time, now you're investing energy. This person has built a connection to you. Like you just said, right? I'm now committed because I've shared something of myself that maybe the last 2 sites I looked at didn't care about. So there's a lot of that goes into it too. And I think the psychological aspect, it can't be understated in terms of just the opening, hey, tell me how I can help you. I'm here and I'm listening.
Absolutely. And Cara often likes to mention this question, which is how soon are you looking for help? And you can include a drop down or you can make that field blank, but if someone looking for help yesterday, are they just browsing and looking around, they're looking for help 1 year from now, then you can handle that lead differently based on how urgent their need is.
And Lauren too, often attorneys will tell me, well, if the inquiry form is too lengthy or too detailed, fewer people will fill it out. I'll have fewer lead flow. I actually think that's a good thing. I think that is a way of screening out, right? If someone isn't serious enough or committed enough to fill, and we're not talking about this lengthy form, right? But if they're not willing to answer some basic details about their legal situation, they're not invested enough to be a quality client for you, right? So, that's actually part of it. We're protecting your calendar. We're really kind of screening out those looky-loos, right? That's one of the number one complaints I hear is this, these leads that come through, they're completely unqualified. Well, of course, because you haven't screened them in any way, right? So then you're spending all this time, or someone in your office is spending a bunch of time sifting through these leads that you don't know much about, that may be very early on, if even in, the hiring process at all, and you just you're not armed with that information. So, that's not a good, I don't agree with that kind of line of thinking of, well, I just want to ask for for name and email address and phone number. And then, that's it, just so that I have this lead. Well, we're talking about hot leads, right? We're talking about leads that are qualified in more ways than one. So it really is imperative to, not only ask those questions, but if someone doesn't get all the way through it, or, based on their answers, then you can field the inquiries, to a paralegal, to, directly to your partner, however you handle that intake internally. But you can't do any of that if you're not, at least putting some basic screens in place.
Yeah. And what I love about this and what you mentioned, Cara, is this is really for hot leads. So when you frame this as, hey, fill out this form to book a free consultation with us, someone's already raising their hand and saying, yes, I want a free consultation. Most people aren't going to get on the phone if they're not ready for that next step. And if they are, that form, if it's a little bit lengthier, like let's say 3 to 5 questions, and some of them can be dropped down, so they're not filling everything out on their own. If that deters them from booking a free consultation with you, then that's a-okay, because you're going to presumably have quite a bit of homework for your client. And if a form is too much for them, then you know that right up front, and that's kind of going to weed out some of those people that are maybe a little more difficult to deal with or not willing to put in the work that's required for a successful client relationship. So on that note, I want you to include a calendar booking link on the back end of the form submission. So, hey, fill out this form to book a free consultation with me. They fill out the form. As soon as they fill out the form, there's a calendar booking link, so they can get on your calendar right away. This does 2 things. 1, you see your calendar booking up with leads without really doing a whole lot, right? People just go to your website and they're on your calendar. 2, you don't have to do all that back and forth that sometimes happens with scheduling an appointment, which can be, in my opinion, rather tedious, is kind of low-level work and takes up a lot of time from someone in the office, whether it's you or another staff member. That really doesn't have to happen with today's tech. So you can, by the way, always cancel calls that aren't qualified. Like, you have all that information, and then someone on your team can reach out and say, hey, we're not a good fit for your current problem, but why don't you go talk to this attorney who recommend this types of cases too? In my opinion, this is, if there's anything you do on the back end of this training, this is the number 1 thing I would recommend, because you should immediately see what's the quality of the leads you're getting, and you have a consistent way to measure that, because you'll see how many appointments are we getting through this process, and you can look at the way that questions are being answered, and kind of get a feel for, okay, do we need different traffic sources in order to bump up the quality of our leads? Is our current traffic not good enough, or is it doing great and actually a lot better than we thought? We just didn't lead people down a clear path to take the next step with us. And almost always I see that's the problem. We haven't led people down a clear path. So many websites have so many pages and so many different places to go that often you lose traffic because they drop off at various steps. But when we say, hey, this is where you go to book a consultation with us, and this is the process everyone follows, it becomes really easy. And when you have this inquiry form, you can even include a link to it in your email signature. Click here to book a free consultation with me. There's a lot of places you can promote this inquiry form to generate more leads for you.
And Lauren, folks can just use a free or low cost schedule tool like Calendly or something, right?
Yep. Calendly, Schedule Once, Acuity. These are free. They actually include form questions. So meaning you can tie the form to the calendar, and you don't have to create this separate page. And you don't have to be super techie to set it up. Yes, Stacy, I do see that a lot too. So, and then one thing I would do is consider even burying the link to your contact form or hiding it in the link in your footer. Sometimes we put this in such a prominent place that website visitors are trained, oh, let me just go to the contact form if I want to reach out. I'd rather see your book a free consultation in a really prominent place in your navigation, and then the contact form it below in your footer. So only kind of someone who feels like booking a consultation isn't the right next step has to kind of work to reach out to you. Now, I do want to answer this question, and maybe Melina, you can give me a little bit more details about how can you ask questions to clients so they don't have to repeat themselves and not get frustrating? I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but maybe you do, Cara, in terms of
maybe just kind of if Melina, if you're asking sort of how to reduce friction, maybe in the inquiry form, when possible, we like to recommend drop down options, right? So in some cases that doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you need more of a narrative, more information. But if there's one or two questions that you can kind of frame in a drop down menu. So for instance, like we said, how immediate is your legal need? And then there could be a drop down of 3 or 4 options, and they just click anywhere on the spectrum from immediate to just browsing kind of a thing. Okay, I was just checking the chat. So the simple ways of kind of reducing the friction, while still collecting that information, that might go a long way.
Yeah. And ideally, if you're worried about them repeating their story, ideally this is in, that information then goes to your CRM or is stored somewhere so that whoever initially has the first conversation with them already has that information and isn't asking them to repeat. They're asking additional questions and then adding those notes to that consolidated record that everyone on the team has access to. So I think that would also help you, Melina.
Good point. Yeah, that's a huge sort of customer service piece, right? No one likes to have to repeat everything. And if whoever kind of the call is being handed off to, if they can just be armed with all of the information, and that's just a really nice way to streamline the process. Yeah, good point, Lauren.
Yeah, and also, it makes a prospect feel really taken care of because not only have you heard what they already said, you're diving deeper into the questions they answered. And I think that's a really great way to stand out. No one likes, I think about it like if you go to the doctor and first you tell the nurse your story and then you tell the doctor your story and then they refer you to a specialist and then you tell the specialist your story. It'd be great if they just had a PDF and it was all there and the specialist read it before you even got there, right? So I think think about how you like to be handled when you're a customer or client from some other authoritative expert, and then apply those same principles to your firm. Okay, so we have gone through recommendation number 1, which is add an inquiry form to your site. Make sure the inquiry form has a few more questions than your contact form. On the back end of that, include a calendar booking link. I dropped some tech recommendations as well, in addition to what Mike shared in the chat. If you are on WordPress, because we've gotten this question in the past, you can also use Gravity Forms as a great form software. So once they've booked a call with you, you should be seeing those new leads come through. And then ideally, your contact form is used few and far between for unrelated questions. And I think what you'll find is you'll only, at some point, you'll get mainly spammy requests through your contact form, and all of your high quality leads will be filtered through this inquiry form. Okay. So step 2, and I believe it was Janet who mentioned she may have some of this in place already, but we want you to feature a lead magnet and an exit intent pop-up to collect warm leads. So for me, there's a very big difference between a hot lead, someone who's ready to take the next step with you, and a warm lead, someone who is fishing around for information but isn't quite ready to jump on a call, but they may be in 2 weeks, in 3 months, in 6 months. The challenge with website traffic is it's all anonymous. So until we ask for someone's contact information, we really don't have a way to identify who might be ready for the next step and who we need to keep following up with. So a lead magnet is basically this piece of free incentive that you give a prospect in exchange for their email address. In industries outside of the legal world, oftentimes you see this, for example, in e-commerce as, hey, get 10% off your first purchase with us, and you'll see a pop-up. Or sometimes you'll see giveaways or contests, like I think HGTV has a really popular one, like enter to win your dream house, right? They're collecting your email because they know if they have your email, they can keep following up with you until you buy something from them. In the attorney industry, there are so many great things you can give out. And I think oftentimes a really great way for you to start is letting it revolve around some piece of educational content. So whether it's an ebook, whether it's an automated email series, whether it's a quick PDF or checklist, here's the 3 things you need to do in order to have prepare for your personal injury case, but something that feels really helpful to them, and they're willing to give their email address to you for that. Sometimes a mistake I see is people say, hey, enter your email to get our newsletter. And I don't frequently find that a newsletter is exciting enough for people to enter their email. We all get way too many emails in general, and just hearing, oh, I'm going to get more emails doesn't feel exciting. But if I hear, oh, I'm going to get 6 recommendations on how I should handle my bankruptcy case, that feels high value, and it feels like it's helping me if I'm thinking about what are the next steps. Plus, you're standing out as an authority and you now have a way to follow up. And Car, I'm going to pass the mic over to you. I just have need to cough for a second. Sorry.
Yeah. So this definitely tends to be the lowest hanging fruit. Again, a lead magnet. That's one of the things that is commonly missing on law firm sites. And especially if you already have the asset, many of the lawyers I'm talking to, they've written a book at some point, right? Or they have, you might have a smaller ebook or a checklist, but you're just kind of right now offering it sort of ungated, right? So in that case, really, it's really simple. All you have to do is, set up a mechanism that, serves up that content in exchange for contact information. But, if you don't, then if you don't yet have that lead magnet, also, don't feel like you need to overthink it. In other words, this doesn't need to be a lengthy book or booklet if you don't have the time. It could be something quite simple, as Lauren alluded to, right? It could be a checklist. It could be a quiz of some sort if you can come up with something creative that you feel would sort of resonate with your prospects. But just know that in many cases, this could be lowest hanging fruit for you, meaning, think about all the visitors that are coming to your site who aren't quite ready to book that consult, and they just disappear without a trace, right? Maybe they read a blog post, maybe they read an article, maybe they stick around for a little while, but if you're not collecting their contact information and serving them up something valuable, then we of course never know that they're there. And I think we're going to get into it in a second, Lauren, but also the follow-up piece is an important part of this as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So where I see people get stuck a lot with lead magnets is they feel like they have to create, to Cara's point, this immensely long, valuable piece of content. And I'd argue that your prospects mainly just need to know a little bit. You are the expert. That is what your consultation and client retainer is for. But if you give them a little bit information, it's likely a lot more than they know currently. And so to Donovan's point, yes, you can have a checklist as a lead magnet. It doesn't even need to be in PDF form. If it's like, hey, we don't have anyone on the team who can do that, you can absolutely just send an automatic email after the lead fills out the form. And my one recommendation is don't give them the lead magnet on the thank you page. Instead, deliver it in an email. We want to train your leads to open your emails because that's how you keep following up and they actually see your follow-up. So you really want to kind of force them to go to their email inbox in order to get access to the lead magnet. So Donovan, I think your approach would be really great for that. And, if you don't have time to create a high value lead magnet or even an easier lead magnet, James Amplifier does have some options for you, and Mike's dropped Cara's link, and you're welcome to reach out to her and she'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second. But we do have some options for you guys to take this work off your plate. I don't want it to be a 3 to 6 month project to create a lead magnet or even a 1 month project. I want you to get something up quickly because, again, just like the inquiry form, you will see when you put up this exit intent pop-up, how many more of your website visitors are actually interested in what you have to offer. And typically, I see on the low end anywhere from a 1 to 3% conversion rate of website traffic into a lead magnet. Sometimes we can see as high as 10%. So if you just kind of do the math in your head, of what's my current website traffic, you know, you can kind of get a feel for how many people ideally would be opting into this. And to Gar's point about follow-up is, yes, you can and should have follow-up on the back end of your lead magnet. And in an ideal world, it's also automated, meaning your team, your staff doesn't have to reach out to every single one of these leads. Instead, you're giving them educational content that's automated and then encouraging them to book a consultation with you. The nice thing about this is once you have it set up, you can kind of set it and forget it and just know this follow-up is happening. And you can redirect your team's time to only focusing on the highest valuable leads.
Lauren, what do you mean by exit intent, and why is that kind of the preferred method?
Yeah, sure. And so I'm going to speak to that in a minute, if that's okay. But basically, there are some online best practices that we need to follow, especially for SEO and Google penalties. And I'll kind of address that at the very end of this. So one thing I just like to highlight is that there's a reason that in sales, they say the fortune is in the follow-up. And right now, if you don't have something like this in place, you really don't have a way to identify leads and follow up with them. I typically find that most clients come after following up with someone who's maybe interested. And it's a great way to stand out in your industry. Most people, most attorneys, as Cara said, do not have a way to identify who their warm leads are, and they don't follow up with them, or they don't follow up with them in a systematic way that goes on beyond the initial email. So I think this is really high value, and again, doesn't have to take a ton of work. And then I'm just going to address some tech questions that are happening in the chat. So Christine and Melina are asking, is there a software that's best to use and what company can be used for this? We do provide some solutions for this that I highly recommend, from pop-up to automated follow-up. There are some other solutions out there. I would typically say ideally your automated follow-up is happening in the same email marketing software where you're using, so you don't have too many pieces of tech happening simultaneously. Cara, do you want to share a little bit more about kind of how we can help with some of this?
Yeah. So keep in mind that this is all included in our Marketing Amplifier program. So meaning even, everything from the, adding the lead magnet as a pop-up to your site, and then, automatically kind of filtering those prospects in through a comprehensive, already built out kind of out of the box drip campaign, an email nurturing sequence for those prospects to continue to educate them, continue to really stay top of mind, convey your caring and your expertise, so that when that prospect is ready to sign, right, you're top of mind, and our system handles all of that for you. Very common question I get or surrounding this is, well, I use a CRM, the firm uses a CRM now. We use a specific practice management, case management system. What happens in that case? Ideally, we integrate with virtually, I would say 95% of the CRMs and the practice management systems that come our way. So that's how the program works best, right? You don't want to be updating multiple systems. You want everything to sort of talk to each other and have the least disruption in your workflow as possible. So just set an appointment with me, and we'll talk about your situation specifically. But, we provide, of course, all the lead magnets and the software, the mechanisms to kind of deliver this.
Fabulous. So getting back to your question about, I'm just going to skip ahead and go back, about pop-ups, exit intent. So oftentimes I hear pushback around, oh, but a pop-up is spammy. Oh, people aren't going to like it. And I'd say I'd kind of want to help you reframe your thinking. If you offer something high value, then the pop-up's not going to feel spammy. It's going to feel like, oh, great, this is really good information that I want to get my hands on. And then two, the reason that I recommend an exit intent pop-up is because an exit intent means we only show the pop-up when someone's cursor goes up to the top left and is about to close out your website. So meaning if at that point they still haven't booked a consultation with you, then we show them the lead magnet, because first we want to take them down that hot lead path. But if they don't go down that hot lead path, okay, let's take them down the warm lead path. Then the last reason we do exit intent is because Google has about a couple years ago, they have this intrusive interstitial penalty, where basically if the pop-up is too large, takes up too much of the screen, especially on mobile, and or comes up too soon when someone enters your website, there can be some penalties for that in terms of your Google ranking. So that's why I recommend an exit intent pop-up specifically. Does that answer the question, Cara? Awesome. Okay, so then the other thing I just want to highlight is there's a lot of other great places to feature your lead magnet besides just your website. So you can link to it in your email signature. You can actually promote this on your social media profile bios. In an ideal world, we're sending other traffic on other channels through these same two paths, lead magnet or inquiry form. And you can also send, if you're doing any sort of paid ads, you can send them to your lead magnet. This can be a great way to determine how successful are my ads, because you're identifying, hey, yes, this is generating leads, or no, it's not. Because most people that you're going to advertise through to in social media ads aren't going to be ready to book a consultation. So this helps them come in at an earlier step that's low friction for them and also high value for you. Okay, so step number one, the change number one is to add an inquiry form. Change number two is to add a lead magnet to your site. Now we're going to talk about step number three. So I can't overstate the value of videos. I think adding videos strategically to your site, and we'll talk about what that means in a second, allows prospects to get to know, like, and trust you faster than the written word can, faster than photos can. And I just like to say, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, like how many words is a video worth, right? So, and I apologize, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. Cara, I'm going to pass this to you for a second.
Yeah, of course. So, there are so many uses for video too. I feel like most of the people on this session have heard me. Sometimes I feel like a broken record, because video it's the most efficient, it's the most effective way of distinguishing yourself, as Lauren says. And you don't need to overthink it, right? That's kind of the most important thing. It's about getting the information out there. It's about being informative, maybe a little bit entertaining when we can, but it's really, it's a must. It's a critical part of your marketing. It's a critical part of your website. It's no longer kind of this nice to have. So, now that we understand how important it is, we'll talk about kind of how we can implement it and how we could potentially help you implement it, right? Because it adds so much to, it allows your prospects to meet you essentially, right? Before they're ever actually talking to you. People who are going through a legal situation, as you know, it's overwhelming. They're looking to hire an attorney for a situation that they may know very little about, right? It's intimidating. Bringing down those walls, kind of building that trust. Video is the way to do that. Lauren, I'll kick it back to you, but we can kind of talk about some specifics when it comes to video.
Yeah, so I think video allows you to stand out from the competition. It allows people to get to know you and your personality more quickly. Not everyone's the right fit, and that's okay. And we want to weed people out. It's a great qualifier. You get to educate your prospects and convey your expertise. You can say so much in a 2-minute video that might take a very lengthy web page to communicate. And then again, as Cara said, you're speeding up the sales process because you're speeding up this know, like, and trust factor. People get to know you faster. So the next question I think you're wondering is, okay, well, what types of videos should I have on my website? And I think there's a few opportunities here. One is an introduction video. So introducing your firm, explaining your points of differentiation, and help the prospect understand who you serve. Most of the time, you're not going to be serving everyone, or you may be specializing in one specific specialty or even a very narrow niche within that specialty. And you want a prospect to understand that before they book an appointment with you, because if their case doesn't fit into your niche, then you don't want them taking up space on your calendar. Another great type of video, especially if you're multi-specialty, is to talk about your different specialties that you serve, explain the kind of cases you have, and help them understand whether or not they're a good fit. So this is less about your firm's overall introduction. I'm more about, let me really dive into the nitty gritty. So let's say you have a bankruptcy page and you have an estate planning page and you have a personal injury planning page. Well, ideally on each of those, there'd be a specialty specific video up at the top. Testimonial and case study videos. I think this is immensely valuable social proof, and it really helps a prospect see themselves in your past client stories. As you all know, referrals are likely the highest value referrals that you get, highest value leads that you get, because someone's already pre-sold, someone else has already done the selling for you. And that's what testimonial and case studies can do. It's one thing for you to toot your horn and say, well, my law firm's the best. It's another for your past clients to do that. So this, if I were to choose out of all of the videos I'm going to show you, if I were to choose one specific type of video that I would get started on yesterday, it would be this testimonial and case study videos.
And video testimonials are great, right, Lauren?
Yeah.
But there's something that's just, it's so compelling about a video testimonial. And video testimonials are not always easy to get, right? They're not always easy to film. Sometimes it takes a little bit of nudging. That doesn't mean that your past clients weren't, particularly satisfied or pleased with the outcome. We shoot a lot of video testimonials for our past client video testimonials for our subscribers. And it does take some time, and it takes a system. It takes a combination of calling the past client, emailing the past client, leaving voicemails, right? Even just to jump on, a 5-minute Zoom to ask them some questions that really pull out a compelling video testimonial. But they're also marketing gold. So, in my opinion, it's worth it. And you can, of course, always outsource that back and forth work if needed.
Yeah, and the other thing I love about testimonial videos is, one, you can be building a library of them. So if someone's comparing your firm to another firm and you have 20 video testimonials on there and they have none, that's pretty hard. That's pretty hard for me to say, oh, I'm going to go with this other firm. And two, you don't have to be on the video in order to collect the testimonial. That can be outsourced completely. Where some of these other videos I'm mentioning, introduction and specialty specific, ideally you are the one talking in those videos or someone on your team. But a testimonial video, it's really just about facilitation and someone asking the right questions. And that work can be offloaded to James Amplifier or someone else. So also process videos. I think a prospect understanding the specific process you take them through and why your firm has a unique process and why that's crucial to your success, it really is a point of differentiation, and it makes someone feel like they're in good hands up front. And it also helps them know what to expect before they even book a consultation with you, before they even sign a contract with you. So really saying, hey, this is step 1, this is step 2, and this is step 3, I think is a great way to stand out. And then last but not least, a consultation video. So this can be on that same page where your inquiry form is and say, here's who should book a consultation. If you have this and this and this in place, then fill out this form and then you'll get access to my calendar and then we'll jump on a call. It really sets expectations about the next step. And again, is another opportunity for you to help weed out tire kickers. And Christine's asking, aside from the website, where else do you share these video testimonials? I'll pass that one to you, Mike.
Yeah, I was actually just going to mention this as well. So Christine, obviously the website is a great house for video library. I can actually share one of a sample video library after this. But as far as putting video testimonials somewhere, where do people typically search for information from you, right? It's Google. Everybody should have a Google business page. If you do not, I recommend you immediately do that. Start getting those written testimonials, but you can also upload videos to that page. If you didn't know that, yeah, you can. Google likes that. They want that. So take your testimonial video, put that testimonial video right alongside the written. That's exactly the first place most people are going to look to find a review of you anyway, outside the website. So put them there. That would be my biggest and probably best recommendation outside the website.
Yeah, and if you have any social media platforms, that's also a great place to share these video testimonials. It's someone hearing it straight from the horse's mouth, and you need content anyways to fill up that feed. And so that's another great place. So you're looking for more ideas in addition to that, Christine. And I'd ask you why. And if the answer is I need more leads, then I think that's a separate conversation, which is really just about how do we get more traffic and more eyeballs on those channels. Yeah, that's great, Stacy. Email can be a great spot for that. Okay. Then I think another opportunity for video is to introduce your team, especially if there's other members of your team that your prospects are going to be interacting with regularly. One, it takes the pressure off you being kind of the unicorn of the firm and everyone expecting to work with you every step of the way. And it really helps them understand who's doing what in your firm and when they'll be interacting with a different team member. Okay. So step number 4, in terms of the 5 website changes we recommend, is using our conversion center to highlight and spotlight specific videos. It's really easy for high value pieces of content to get lost, especially if you have a ton of pages on your website. Maybe you've been working on SEO and you have a ton of content. We really want to make sure that specific videos are shown on specific pages so that they don't get lost in the shuffle. And I'll let Cara speak a little more about this.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, Lauren, right? So you're spending all of this time producing these great videos, right? That's more than half the battle, but you want some eyeballs on these videos, right? You don't want them to get lost. You don't want just one video that you throw up on your homepage. So if you are creating videos on a monthly or some sort of regular basis, it's super important to prominently display them to your website visitors on your site, right? And to kind of serve up the most relevant content to visitors based on kind of how they're navigating through your site. So Lauren, if you don't mind, could I actually share my screen? I could show a quick example of this. Okay, so this is actually one of our subscribers. Can you guys see my screen okay? So if you look down to the lower right, check our education center. So this is exactly what we're talking about. This is a conversion center that really organizes written content very much. You can see if you kind of click through, there's tons of written content, but there's also a video library here where you can actually click on these and a pop-up appears. You're not leaving the site, you're actually viewing the video right within the site. And there's call to action, there's client testimonials here, video and written. There's also easy ways to connect. So that's kind of what we're referring to about this conversion center. It was really our answer to, we were getting so many questions about, I love these videos, they're great, but I want to do more with them. How can I sort of further spotlight them on my site, right? So that's what we were talking about, the conversion center. It's a one-time add-on, sort of a widget, a little, tiny plugin, and it can be displayed the way that it's displayed on your site. There's lots of kind of customization that we can do with that. If you have other pop-ups, or maybe you have a live chat, pop-up that appears, we work with that to make sure that visitors don't feel inundated with too much information, and that we're kind of really presenting the videos and the content in a sophisticated way. So that's what we were talking about. Like, let's get as many eyeballs on these videos as we can. And, certainly the conversion center is a nice way to do that.
That's great, Cara. And if you want to talk with Cara a little more about the conversion center, I highly recommend booking an appointment with her. She can talk you through some of the specific things that you can do for it that would be helpful for your firm and your unique situation. Okay, so last change we recommend making to your site is to double down on testimonials and case studies. So I know we highlighted the video testimonials and case studies, but I don't think you can ever have too many testimonials, written or video. The more your website visitors see themselves in your testimonials and case studies, the more likely they are to take the next step. If I know you've handled 5 cases just like mine, I'm going to think, oh my gosh, Stacy, you are the expert in this bike crash case. And so I'm going to choose you over some other generalist who I don't even know if he's helped someone in my area of expertise. So the nice thing about testimonials, you can build this ongoing library, like I mentioned before. And if you're doing video, you can build written testimonials simultaneously. So you record the case study, you record the testimonial, and then you pull out the most compelling snippets of that and use those testimonials everywhere on your site. Not just in, hey, here's our past clients, but also, let's say it's sprinkled on your personal entry page, it's on your homepage. Social proof has been proven in the marketing world to help across all the stages of awareness, moving people to the next step. So having a system in place to collect consistent feedback from your clients, I think is really important. It doesn't have to be hard. It can either be a video at the end of every case. It could even just be a simple survey, like if you have Google Forms or something like Typeform, where you're just sending this out and asking a few strategic questions and then formatting them into a testimonial at the end of every engagement. So I don't want you to overthink this, but I do want you to say, hey, we need a system in place and we need to be asking for feedback consistently. And yes, let's ask for that Google review, but let's also ask for something a little more comprehensive where we can do a little more storytelling on our website and help someone understand this was the problem and this is how we solved it. We don't just want to know, hey, Mike, you're a great attorney. I want to know, hey, Mike handled my case like a true professional from start to finish, from the time I booked a free consultation with him and his whole team really asked me the right questions and helped me get through my problem of X, Y, Z. And then this was the end outcome of the case. We really want to be able to tell that before, during, and after story. And that doesn't always happen in a Google review, in my opinion. Okay. So we're going to get into some Q&A. And if you want to do a live audit of your site right now, we will do that. And then do keep in mind there is a replay. So we will be sending that out later this afternoon if you can't stick around for this live audit piece. But I'm super excited. So let me stop my share. And then I will share some of these URLs. So Donovan, thank you for volunteering.
I want to thank everyone for being so active today in the chat as well, asking questions and everything. It makes the session a lot more fun.
Okay. So Donovan, if you can just refresh my memory. Oh, I can see it here. Okay. So multiple practice areas. So let's just kind of talk about the 5 changes we just recommended. So first of all, instead of this contact link right here, I would replace this with book a consultation. And then ideally, when I click this book a consultation, I would see a video up top here that says, hey, here's the next steps. Here's the kind of cases we help. If you're ready for a consultation, you'll likely have this and this in place. Fill out the form below and you'll get access to my calendar right away. Then we'd have a slightly lengthier form here. Now, because you're talking about multiple specialties in the form, I would specifically ask, what type of case do you have? Is it related to equine law, construction law, personal injury? And then I would have a few more questions below that to ask them to tell you about the details of your case, as well as how soon they need help. Car, is there anything that you might answer also include in that form, because there's so many different specialties?
Yeah, so if you are just using one singular form for all the specialties, yeah, I think, sometimes you don't want to get too granular actually. So, maybe you have, more of a dynamic form that, depending on, which area of practice or, where their legal need lies, maybe different questions are kind of displayed, but that's really not, it's a little advanced and really not necessary. I think if you just kind of actually keep it simpler, Lauren, I think that's probably the best bet.
Fabulous. And I don't think a high performing site needs to have thousands of pages. So I don't want, Donovan, you to think that based on Kara's recommendation, hey, I need a specific form for each specialty. No, let's just keep it simple. Let's have a book a consultation, have that more detailed inquiry form here, bury this contact link to down here or down here, just keep it there. And then on the back end of this form, we want them to have access to a calendar, Calendly, Schedule Once, Acuity. There's lots of great options for you here.
Donovan, definitely down,
yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, I think a drop-down box is great. So ideally, when you have an inquiry form, you're asking both some easy to answer questions, which is what the drop-down does. It gives people options, and then maybe one or two free form questions. So tell me a little bit about your case, right? Would be more free form, but what type of case with a drop-down would be something that's easy for someone to answer because they have to fit in a type of, a specific answer. So okay, so that's the first change I would make. The second change I would make is, and I'm trying to see if there's any sort of pop-up, and I don't think there is, but correct me if I'm wrong, is if I'm moving my cursor up here to the top left, ideally a pop-up shows, and there's some sort of lead magnet in place. Now, Kara, I might let you answer this, but again, because there's multiple specialties, the type of lead magnet you might promote might be your most popular specialty, or the one that you get you want more of. But I would start with something that is specialty specific rather than general, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Lauren. Actually, we have quite a few subscribers, multi-specialty subscribers that, we can actually control, depending on, based on which pages the visitor is currently on, we can kind of display the most relevant lead magnet. So that's not too big of a deal, but it really should be sort of specialty specific, even if you're only offering one, because it just won't be valuable enough if it's not.
Fabulous. Okay, change 3 I would make is including a few more videos on here. So I see this happening in a couple different ways. So even here at the top, rather than the slider, I would just have an introduction to your firm that features you, Donovan, and or maybe a few team members. Hey, welcome to our website. We're super excited to, well, that's the wrong language, but hey, we want to take this opportunity to tell you a little more about our firm. Here's who we help. Here's why we're different, that sort of thing. And then again, I would even consider having another tab up here that's kind of client results or client testimonials or client feedback, where you have a library of videos from your past clients. And if you don't have videos yet, then I would just include some written testimonials, because I want to know not just who you are here, but also who you've helped and have they been happy. And if that's featured up front, then that makes it really easy for me to say, hey, I want to reach out and get more information. And then if you want to consider something like the Conversion Center, that would just show here, correct me if I'm wrong, Cara, in the top right, and you would be able to feature some other high value content without adding pages to your site, which I really like.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So Donovan, I think you have a really good foundation. And I think with those 3, maybe 4 changes, it shouldn't take a lot of time to implement those. And if you have someone helping you with your website, you should be able to have at least the inquiry form done within a week. I think it's something that could be implemented right away. Okay. Let's go to Jared next. Give me a second. You're welcome, Donovan. And so I'm going to let this load so I can read it. Okay. Okay, beautiful. So one question for you, Jared, do you guys get a lot of form submissions from this? Leave a message, ask a question. and just let me know in the chat. So I love that the phone number is featured up front here. It's kind of like booking a consultation, right? We're putting that prominently. I think, yeah, rather than connect with us, this is where I'd put that book a consultation link, just like I mentioned for Donovan. So again, rather than connect with us, book a consultation, a little video up top here explaining next steps, a form, and then on the back end of that, a calendar booking link. And you do get a fair amount. Yeah, interesting. And I'd be curious, how many of those do you think are hot leads, Jared? Or how many of those are just, hey, I'm just trying to ask a basic question? So as Jared's answering, I would consider testing just the book a consultation instead of this, because my guess is that if you take people down that more direct path to booking a call, yeah, then you'll get more qualified leads, and you won't necessarily be reaching out to leads who are going to take a lot of your time, even just for an initial back and forth. So I'd rather you send them to that book a consultation, and then these leads, I'd rather you direct to the lead magnet. So here in the footer, you can say, 10 ways to get more out of your personal injury case. And sorry, I'm just riffing, so that's obviously not the right title, but you feature it here, and then you have the form rather than ask a question, which almost feels like, hey, I get free advice from this attorney. And that's not the impression we want to give. We want them to book that consultation if they're really hot leads. And if not, we just want them to give us their contact information so we can follow up. So again, that would show as I'm going here to click, and also you could feature it down here in the footer. And then I'd keep this connect with us down here in the footer, but just experiment with the book a consultation here. Cara, I might let you speak to this a little bit. I like the video here. That feels different and interactive, and I get this point of differentiation for you here, but I think you might have some thoughts on how to make this stand out even a little bit more.
The background video you're talking about? Yeah. So, I mean, it is engaging, right? It is interesting. It's definitely a bit different, but I don't know that it's providing much value. So, I mean, it's certainly, it's certainly interesting and it's well done. I think I don't know if, you're getting much traffic to your homepage, if that's something that you're really kind of trying to, if you're driving traffic to your homepage, which, hopefully you're not, but if you are, maybe you think about more, kind of more of an in-depth video, or does it actually play?
It looks like it actually plays an in-depth video.
That's good.
So I wonder if, just a thought here, if just having this video, rather than requiring a click, which adds some friction, just having this video down here. I also noticed when I click on that, there's other videos featured down at the bottom, and that's typically a simple YouTube setting. We don't want to be sending traffic to other people's videos on YouTube. We only want to feature yours. So that would be another quick tweak I would make to that. Okay. So I see what you're doing here, trying to collect referral sources, presumably, Jared, but I almost, and I almost want this to be in the footer, and I want this to be like your testimonials here, because if I'm a prospect, I'm not necessarily seeing what are your results. I'm looking at kind of a referral source here. So that would be one change I would make here. And Cara, I don't know if you have some thoughts on that specifically around collecting referrals.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine, really. I mean, I think, a video could always, would always be a good idea. Maybe this is a page that, you have a specific use for. I think it's okay. I don't really have, yeah.
Okay. So then in addition to this, I would consider, Jared, adding the client testimonials page. That's how I would handle that. And I would make sure it's prominent and up top here.
And maybe you could even get some videos from other lawyers that you've worked with, right? That would be a compelling way of kind of adding some content to that page as well.
Yeah, and you could even add a little form here specific for referral sources so that you're directing that traffic to a next step. Okay. Jared, thank you for sharing your website. I am mindful of the time. Cara and Mike, if you have a few more minutes, I can stick around and keep doing some audits if you guys want to keep going.
Yeah, let's keep going for a little bit.
Okay. If you can't stick around, we will be sending out the recording. Okay, so here we have Russell. And Russell, I'm curious, and sorry, I'm just kind of getting in the lay of the land. How well does this work for you? This get your free consultation form right here. You're welcome. Pretty well. Yeah, it reduces the perceptions that attorneys are expensive to speak to. Yeah, I really like that. Do you have a calendar booking link on the back end of that form? And sorry, I'm not going to fill it out right now. No, you're worried with how it may clash. Okay. So one thought there is something like Calendly can actually integrate with Google Calendar, whatever your calendar is, and then you can set availability and you can round robin, where basically it'll book on whoever's calendar is available, and you can set specific availability. So that might be one thing you consider experimenting with and seeing how well it does for you, or if your current system is a better approach. But I like how you highlight this free virtual consultations, and I'm immediately taken to a form that tells me about the next steps. One thing I might do is, instead of this picture, which takes up a lot of height, but it's beautifully done, is replace this with a video that tells them what to expect for the free consultation.
I had a similar thought. Yeah, I noticed that the tall picture kind of goes throughout the site, and so it kind of pushes everything down quite a bit, kind of well below the fold. So I mean, it's a really nice homepage image, but oh, the video.
So the way you do that is you actually embed the video from YouTube rather than putting the video on your site and using up basically using up your server instead of YouTube server. We want YouTube to kind of work on speed. So YouTube, Vimeo, there's a few different options where you can embed on your site. But I agree with Cara. This I might miss, especially if I'm on a MacBook Pro, but if I'm on a smaller device, in terms of a laptop, I might miss this because I might just be looking at this page and I might kind of click away. So that would be one thing I would consider, is reducing the height and or adding a video instead, and making sure this form is bumped up and maybe starts here and the video is right here.
Lauren, it looks like you have a pretty impressive collection of testimonials, video and written, but I feel like it's sort of hidden. I think it's under the free resource tab. And then, it's kind of down in the drop down. So I would recommend really kind of more prominently displaying that page.
Yeah, so it's also here if you click reviews.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these are really great. I think I would consider, and let me see if they're here, but also, yeah, are you embedding some of the related testimonials here in some of these practice areas? I think that's another great place to feature them. And again, same note here on the testimonials page, because this image is so tall, albeit a very eye-catching photo of your team, I might miss this down below. And let me see. Yeah, so you have your free consultation detailed everywhere. I actually like the wording on your free consultation site of describe your injuries rather than case details, because case details may mean something to you as an attorney, but might not mean something to the average person who's kind of gone through an injury. So describing your injury, I feel, is going to get me to share more information than case details. And then even this, it's a common thing people do on forms is they say submit on the button, but rather we want that wording to reflect what they're going to get on the back end of this, which is, request your consultation now, get your consultation now, but something that speaks to the end outcome. Even though you have it here, it also lets them know, hey, I'm not just submitting a form, but I'm going to be booking the consultation. And then I don't see a lead magnet here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because there's a lot going on here, but if I would love to see that as well, which is, some high value personal injury lead magnet when I try and close this site that's going to be featured here, so that if I'm not yet ready to book a consultation, and while I love there's not a ton of friction for that, I want another way for you to collect my contact information. Okay, thank you, Russell. Okay, next we have Christine.
Can we do one more, Lauren?
Yep.
And then I think Mike mentioned anyone else can feel free to reach out, and we're happy to provide some personalized recommendations.
Okay. So this is Christine. So my first thought, Christine, is this right here is a perfect opportunity to replace this image with a video that is going to add on to this great value statement you have here and talk about your 25 years of experience, introduce your attorneys, and give someone really an opportunity to quickly get to know a little more about you without having to scroll through lots of pages. Okay, I love that the schedule your free consultation is highlighted here in a few different places. Again, I would replace contact with schedule consultation, and let's take a look at what that looks like. Okay. So this is where you have an opportunity to one, add a video explaining next steps, but two, have a few more questions here that are more specific to the types of cases you're helping and allow you to get more information from your lead that lets you know about their quality. And just like I told Russell, rather than submit, I'd use some different language there. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you have two forms here. This one to me is more compelling than this one up here.
Is the other one just like the footer looks like, maybe?
This one? Or
Yeah,
this one?
looks like the gray.
Is a footer across all site pages?
Yeah,
let's see.
It looks like it. So then it's kind of doubled up there on that page.
Yeah, so I would consider one or the other.
Yeah, for sure.
And then let's look at your reviews and results. So I don't know, Cara, I would consider consolidating these personally.
Yeah.
Because I want to see testimonials alongside your results. And I also want you to cherry pick the best ones. Like this one feels high value. This one you know, I don't know that this is going to convince me that you're the right attorney for me. So I would cherry pick your best and include them along the results. And that way I'm seeing your results and hearing from the people you've helped, and even consider adding some video testimonials here simultaneously, especially if you can do it alongside some of the specific cases. Okay, and then okay, so here you have this free injury claim guide, and I think this is your lead magnet. So let's take a look. Cool. So this is what I would consider doing. One, possibly adding this in the footer. Whoops. Adding this in the footer in a slightly more compelling way, but also including it in an exit intent pop-up. It's great that you have this landing page specifically, and I believe it's through Constant Contact. But I also don't know from a design standpoint if this to me gives the same impression as your site, which is really beautifully done. I almost want this to be on the left, this to be on the right in a little larger font. I have 20/20 vision, and I still kind of have to squint to look at this, which is makes me think I should get my eyes checked. But I think there's just some slight tweaks where you can make this stand out a little bit more. And I would consider also asking for someone's first name, not just their email, because then you can use that in the follow-up email greeting. Personalization helps with deliverability. And it also gives you a way to, if you want to do any sort of one-on-one outreach, you know how to address someone. People's emails don't always reflect their first name. But I think you've done a really great job and can make some small tweaks here that aren't going to be super labor intensive.
Yeah, I would say the biggest opportunity here is video, just kind of across the board. So, but yeah, really great foundation.
Yes. Well, thank you guys. We really appreciate you sharing your sites. I know I wasn't able to get to everybody, but Cara is ready to help you review some opportunities on your site and just in your marketing in general. So her link has been shared in the chat. We will follow up as well, along with a replay, which will be coming either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, depending on how fast Zoom processes everything for us. Anything else to add, Mike or Cara?
I think that'll do it. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much for all the wisdom. We appreciate it, and we appreciate everyone joining. I think that'll do it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.